Hi, my name's Bex Griffiths.
And I'm Anwen Jones, and together we're Rhizome Clinic.
And we're both herbalists in Bristol. You can see us in our clinic here, and we've been teaching, the clinic's been open for the last 10 years, and we've been teaching together for the last 8. And right now we're doing a series of self-care herbal videos as a response to this pandemic to talk about how to look after yourselves. We're doing the series and we're going building up to like what to do when you feel like you may have the virus. But now we're talking about building resilience.
Yeah, so we're looking at all the things that you can do to make sure that you're in optimal health. And this would apply to any time, but particularly at this time where everybody's wondering what they can do to maximise their vitality and their resilience and sort of give themselves the best chance possible to have good health outcomes. So that's why we're starting off with these real basic building foundations. So we've talked about digestion and building resilience through taking in lots of mineral-rich herbs.
We've talked about immune tonics, and what we're doing is following, I hope you can see this, following this handout that actually we've put as a photo, and we are at the moment currently uploading our website to have all these resources easily accessible. But we have talked about all the kind of spring mineral rich herbs. The second video is about immune tonics, herbs that have been shown to enhance immunity, including seaweeds and medicinal mushrooms. And in this class we're going to talk about calming herbs. Herbs that help with stress and anxiety. So obviously it's a very anxiety provoking time. People possibly lost jobs, people are being forced to work, people are working on the front line, you may have sick relatives, it's the fear of getting ill.
There's lots of things which are causing huge amounts of anxiety and fear at the moment. And whether that's the kind of increased stressful conditions that you're living in for all those reasons, or even simply just following the news at the moment is really anxiety provoking. And it's been shown that anxiety and stress have a huge impact, negative impact, on lots and lots of aspects of our health, including the immune system.
We're also finding with people who've got the virus that they're feeling really anxious, partly because they're finding breathing difficult, having tight chests. So it's part of treating people with the virus is supporting their nervous system by giving them these calm herbs. And also sleep is really disrupted for all the reasons that we've talked about, as well as when you have the virus, we're noticing that people aren't able to sleep as well. So we're just going to talk about a few herbs that can help calm in the day and help sleep at night. And it's mainly about how long you infuse the herb to make it stronger, to help you with sleeping, and maybe how much you take as well.
Yeah, so some herbs can just be calming and relaxing, but wouldn't actually put you to sleep if you have them in the daytime or if you have them in lower amounts. And then you can use very similar herbs but made stronger in order to actually put you to sleep at night.
So we'll just talk about a few of our favourite ones. I'm going to show you some pictures. And this is you will be able to get these from the herb shops. And I'm showing you now a picture of oats, and we're looking at the milky oats. And milky oats is the seed, the immature green seed of oats that you can squeeze during the growing period. You can squeeze and get this white latex, and that's when it's at its most rich and medicinal.
And that's when the whole oat plant as well is green. So you might have seen as the ingredients in some of the tea blends, or you might see it loose in the herb shops. It's called oat straw, but what it is it's a very early stage of the plant's growth when it's really green and when it has those milky seeds.
This is one of our favourite nervines. So nervine means to calm the nervous system. It's one of our favourite nervines. We drink it as a tea, we give it as tinctures.
And it's very high in B vitamins and magnesium, which is possibly another reason why it's quite relaxing, but it also comes under mineral-rich herbs as well.
Another great herb is skullcap.
So this one's in the mint family. So if you know your botany or your flowers, you might recognise that flower shape as being quite distinctive and similar to the flowers of plants like sage and rosemary and mint.
Another herb which will be flowering all over the UK in around June, July, depending on how hot the summer is, and it's lime flower, and it is this flower and this bract, not the leaf, that we harvest, and it's a really great herb to calm the nervous system.
It has a really amazing honey-like smell. So, it's these trees have been planted throughout lots and lots of parks and city centres. It is a native tree in the UK countryside, so you will see it out in the countryside, but you'll also see it as avenues in parkland. So it's a very accessible tree, and when it flowers, that unmistakable honey-like smell is just on the air. So look out for that at the end of June.
So it's a great herb to calm the nervous system. It tastes really nice, but it also can really help with sleep. And as we've said with like making herbal teas, we talk about herbal teas and how to make them in the first video, but you infuse the herbal tea for maybe 15-20 minutes. You guess about a teaspoon per cup of hot water. You infuse for 15 to 20 minutes. And if you're wanting to make something particularly strong, you may infuse it for longer.
And then you can reheat the tea if you want to drink it hot, or add extra hot water, or you can just drink it cold. Herbal infusions don't have to be hot drinks.
So that's great for the day or evening. Vervain is one of our other favourite nervines.
So this one is also another flower that grows in the wild here, but isn't quite out yet. It also gets planted in some gardens, and the bees really like it, so I think some people plant it for that reason. It has a much more bitter flavour than some of the other ones, particularly the lime flower. So maybe drinking a whole cup of vervain on its own might not be to everyone's taste, but it's often included in tea blends, and a lot of these nervines do work very well together.
We often give it as a tincture because it's bitter, but if you use a very small amount in a tea blend, then you wouldn't taste the bitter so much.
And the vervain is also, that bitterness means that it's also really helpful for the liver. So it can be a good nervine to choose if you're somebody that needs hormone balancing as well, which is another one of its actions.
This is another really beautiful herb, lemon balm, and it's part of the mint family, like skullcap that Anwen was describing. And another herb from the mint family is lavender. So lavender and lemon balm are really great nervines. Lavender gets overlooked, I think, because it's so common, but it's really one of my favourite nervines, calming the nervous system down, helping you switch from fight or flight, kind of the adrenaline pumping around, to like really rest and digest and feeling calmer.
And lemon balm always feels very supportive when you drink it, almost like having a hug.
So lemon balm, this is a herb that you can use regularly, but if you have low thyroid, then you'd avoid using lemon balm like on a regular daily basis.
But drinking the odd cupful would be okay, just you wouldn't have it, a lot of it all the time.
As your regular medicine. So lemon balm is great for the day. I don't find it as useful at night, but lavender is one of my favourite sleep herbs as well, so I use it in combination with other herbs.
And actually the lemon balm in my pots in my garden, it's just starting to come into really good amounts of leaf, and you drink the lemon balm, the best time to collect the lemon balm leaves is before the plant flowers, whereas with lavender we need to wait a little bit longer until the flowers come out for the best medicine of that plant.
Another one is passion flower. You use the leaf and the flower, and we mainly use Passiflora incarnata.
But this one is a variety that does grow in UK gardens, so you'll often see it kind of overflowing people's hedges and kind of trailing all up the houses, and that one can be used as well. And we gather the flowers, the leaves, and the tendrils, and all of that gets dried for the tea. But we don't include the fruit in that blend.
So passion flower again is another great herb for the day. You can drink it as a tea, you can take it as a tincture. And it's also a good herb for sleeping. I find it like lavender, we're going to talk about California poppy, hops. They're kind of slightly more sedative than something like skullcap, vervain. So another one is California poppy. This is something that we taught a lot about in Bristol, because for a very short while, maybe 2 years, Bristol City Council loved California poppy, and they planted it everywhere when they were really into like planting wild flowers and like the motorway embankments and roundabouts, and it's like Bristol's covered for about 2 years in California poppy, and now you can see it a bit, but not as much as it was.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that it was included. I think there was a bit of a backtrack on what counted as wildflowers, because it's not actually native. It doesn't actually grow in the wild in the UK.
No.
But it is bees do like it, so it is a good flower to plant.
And it grows very easily in this country. And we use the whole kind of aerial part, the stem, the flower. And
the leaves.
It makes a nice tea, and we use it as a tincture.
And that's so some of the plants that are more sedating actually have muscle relaxing properties. So it isn't necessarily that it is going to send you to sleep, but more is going to allow you to physically relax enough that then sleep can happen.
So we haven't got a picture of this, but chamomile is probably the most accessible herb of all the herbs that we've talked about. You can get it in most supermarkets. Even like some newsagents have chamomile tea bags. So chamomile tea bags are often not the best quality herb, because if you open it up and look at the tea in the tea bag, you can tell that it looks a little bit old, a little bit musty. And I'm not saying like all tea bags, but the generic ones, it's not
quite
great.
Dusty and quite possibly old, been sat on a shelf for a long time.
So the key, you can still use it though. The key would be to leave it for a long time. So making a chamomile tea that you've infused for an hour makes it really strong. It will taste a bit bitter, so it's going to support the digestion, support the liver, but
you can add honey if you really can't drink it like that.
It just makes a really strong tea to help sleep. So that's like, you can buy all these blends now in most shops, like Nighttime Blend or Sleepy Blend from some of the major tea suppliers, and it's about like leaving it for a long period of time, like from half an hour to an hour, to make it as strong as possible. And the stronger you make that tea, the less you have to drink. So often people say, oh, I don't want to drink a sleepy tea because it's going to make me get up at night and need the loo. Well, you just need to make it really strong and then drink a smaller amount.
Or what I do is I drink it at least an hour before bed, so that there's enough time to have drunk my tea, and then enough time to have processed it and gone to the loo before I'm falling asleep.
And then another herb that's really lovely in the day, not so much for sleeping at night, is rose petals. So that's like any rose that has a fragrance we use. We take the petals and we dry them. And there are some roses around, actually, as I've been kind of walking around. I've seen like some roses in bloom. So when the roses are blooming, just take the petals and you can use them fresh or dry them. And it's like very calming.
Very supportive. So any rose that's got that really amazing uplifting scent is going to do the job. And rose is very specific for feelings of grief and loss. But I just find it a very grounding and very supportive tea to drink. And it just enhances the flavour as well of anything else that you put it with.
So there's always the thing with herbs and people, like there's this interaction. Like we can say these herbs are calming, but you may not experience that. And I find particularly with nervines that people have like their favourites that really work for them. So if you take one herb and it doesn't work, then try another one.
Try a mix.
Or try a mix. And especially with sleeping, we often mix a few herbs together, and that can make it stronger. Another herb that we haven't talked about is valerian, and I'm showing you a photo here. Valerian does grow in this country. It likes to get its feet wet, and we often find it in ditches or kind of wet fields.
It's not the red valerian, that's a completely different plant. So this one is always white or slightly creamy yellow.
It's a Valeriana officinalis. And valerian, so it grows really easily in this country. If you wanted to grow valerian, it's really easy. In our medicine garden, we're like pulling it out of the paths. It kind of takes over. So be careful if you do plant it.
And it's the root that is useful for tea. Is useful as a sleep aid, and I find it very, very effective. As a tea, the bits of dried root, that's not the strongest form of valerian you can have. So if you feel like you need a stronger form of valerian, then go for a tincture or something like that. But it can have an effect in the tea. I definitely notice it whenever it's included into tea blends. The only thing that we would say caution around valerian is that some people, a very small amount of people who take valerian, find it slightly agitating. Most people find it very sedating, but occasionally somebody will find it a little bit agitating, and people usually know if it has that effect on them because they will have had it in a tea blend. So yeah, maybe go for a different one if that's you.
And if you don't know, then you take it and you are agitated, then you know that this does happen to some people. I just wanted to say a little bit about dosage as well. So we've talked about teas, is about a teaspoon per cup of hot water. With tinctures, we often start with 1 teaspoon in some water, and sometimes I don't find that strong enough for some people, particularly if it's like chronic insomnia. So you may want to start with 2 teaspoons in some water. But I suppose you start with the smallest dose and realise that that isn't strong enough, and then you go up and you don't start with the highest dose.
Mm. And also, Valerian isn't one that I drink during the day. I find it a little bit too sedating to drink in the daytime. But if you're somebody who's very anxious, maybe somebody who's having panic attacks, then it could be useful for you to take in the day.
So hopefully that's helpful. I don't think I talked about it at the beginning about how important sleep is. You need to sleep it's when your body repairs itself. So it's probably if you're feeling fine but your sleep is disrupted, that would be the thing to concentrate on.
It's one of the biggest factors in kind of people who are feeling run down and having kind of feelings of low immunity, like you feel like you're always getting whichever cold is going around. Often sleep would be the first questions that I ask somebody in that scenario.
Because we actually repair our body and build immune cells whilst we sleep. So people don't realise what a complicated process sleep is. We do a lot of things when we're sleeping without realising. So that is like quite an easy thing to start to support. And if you're like chronically not sleeping, then taking the Nervines in the day to help with sleep at night is really important. Not just to rely on going to bed, taking the herbs and hoping they work, but like calming the nervous system down in the day, and then you take the sleep herbs at night.
So that you're already in a relaxed state before you need to start thinking about getting to sleep. And I think that these stress release techniques, all the stress release techniques that you might have at your disposal, whether that's going for a walk outside, whether it's breathing deeply, whatever works for you, whether it's a nice hot relaxing bath, all those things are really important right now. And it's really good not to see them as unnecessary or lazy or any of these other kind of reasons that we give ourselves not to allow ourselves to relax. That actually one of the best things you can do for your health right now is to learn to relax.
Okay, so that's the end of our 3rd video, and we will come back with the next one in a few days. Thanks.